Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Hack, and in this video we'll be diving deep into the Void Gauntlet as New World's latest weapon, which is now available for testing on the public test realm. We'll be checking out how it looks, how it plays, as well as all the skills and upgrades. So let's jump right into it. All right, so Void Gauntlet, let's check it out. Starting with the look of the weapon first. Very similar, obviously, to the Ice Gauntlet. Here's the Ice Gauntlet. Compare it to the Void Gauntlet. Almost the same model, just some different visual effects on it. Now, let's talk a little bit about the basic abilities. When we come over here, this obviously is a magic weapon. This gauntlet consumes mana to debilitate foes and strengthen allies, specializing in close-range buffs and dealing damage over time or mid-range debuffs and healing. Okay, so it's going to focus on both damage and healing, almost like a hybrid weapon of some kind. We'll talk about the scaling in just a minute, but I want to look at the basic attacks first. So light attack deals 100% void damage. I don't think that's a surprise. The damage type is going to be void damage primarily. Heavy attacks deal 125% void damage and heals yourself for 20% of the damage done. So that's pretty interesting. Heals back on just the basic attack. It's going to be nice. Now, there's actually a third basic attack skill here called Harvest Essence, and this is from holding block. This is definitely very interesting. It's going to convert your health into mana over time based on your weapon damage. So I can go ahead and show you those three basic attacks. So there's a light attack. We'll charge up a heavy attack. But that's going to give some health back. And then here's that third one, Harvest Essence, where we're actually draining health to get mana. You can see what that looks like. Now, potentially you could probably kill yourself with that if you want to like fast travel. That might be an option on the Void Gauntlet. That might be pretty easy. We'll have to see about that for sure. But those are the three basic attacks. Let me talk about the scaling for a second. So you can see now that the Void Gauntlet is going to be visible under Intelligence and Focus. Now the icon is fully filled in for Intelligence, which means this is the primary, scaling attribute for damage. But we'll see that some of the healing skills are actually going to heal off of Focus. So again, a hybrid weapon. We can see this here under the skills as well. Damage scales with Intelligence and Focus. But now we can get into those primary attack skills, starting with the Annihilation skill tree and Void Blade. This is going to be your basic damage skill on the Void Gauntlet, and it's pretty cool because it is melee. Basically, this converts into a melee damage attack. Basic attack is a quick slash, deals 100% weapon damage. And if you hold down that heavy attack, it becomes a thrust, dealing 150% weapon damage. And this is during the duration, the full 15-second duration, by the way. 25-second cooldown and a 20 mana cost. There's more to this as well. There is a stacking disintegrate debuff. It's kind of like a damage over time effect, and that can be upgraded as well. It also reduces damage absorption on your target for 8 seconds. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. Go ahead and draw that out. So again, 15-second timer on this ability where it is active. Remember, heavy attacks will heal you back, which is pretty nice. And you can see after 15 seconds, it does disappear. The cooldown is pretty quick. You can get it back pretty quick, which is good. Looks awesome, by the way. Nice. Ooh, just like looking at that all day. All right. Next ability, Oblivion. Summon a circular rift of void energy at your feet. Deals 30% weapon damage per second. So this is like an AoE damage over time. And gives you Empower. So 20-second cooldown on this. 6-second duration. And a 30 mana cost. So let's go ahead and look at that. Let me get another enemy here. There you go. Pretty nice as well. I'll show the upgrades too in just a second. Let's look at the last skill. on this side, though. So Petrifying Scream, unleash a void-infused scream, dealing 100% weapon damage. Staggering and inflicting root disables enemy movement for 2 seconds. 15-second cooldown, 25 mana cost. Check this out as well. So there's the root and the stagger. Pretty nice. All right, there we go. Those are the 3 basic attacks in Annihilation. Of course, these do have upgrades. For example, Void Blade. Fortified, you can get Fortify as soon as you use that. That's really good, actually. 20% damage absorption for 5 seconds. Vicious Void gives you bonus critical damage. And then Leeching Blade heals yourself based on the Disintegrate stacks. And you can see there, by the way, this scales with focus. So again, when we talked about the sort of hybrid nature of this weapon, I guess, damage will scale more with intelligence, whereas the healing seems to scale more with focus. So something to keep in mind there. Other upgrades, so Oblivion, we can get Withering. This also inflicts Weaken. It also stacks up to 3 times. That's pretty good. Invigorating Oblivion, bonus stamina per second. And then the upgrades to Petrifying Scream. Bone Chilling Voice gives you increased duration on that root. And then Fortifying Echoes, you're going to gain Fortify for each enemy hit up to 3 times. Now you might be wondering about the final upgrade here, Void Caller. We can check this out. On a successful hit, you gain a stack of Void Essence. At 6 stacks, you're going to consume them all and gain 3-meter aura that heals yourself for 30% weapon damage and deals 30% weapon damage per second. So we do need 6 stacks. It would seem that you could get this pretty easily with things like Oblivion, since it's damage over time, maybe combined with your Void Blade. Let's see if we can proc that. Take 6 stacks. So I'm actually not seeing any stacks from Oblivion. Not seeing any stacks from Petrifying Scream either. All right, so is it only the blade? Maybe it's only the blade that procs that. It says on successful ability hit, but it may just be the Void Blade hit. So let's try that. Okay, I'm seeing some stacks now. And there's the AoE effect. It's damaging and healing. All right, pretty nice. We're talking about the Decay tree now, starting with Orb of Decay. Fire an unblockable orb that passes through enemies, deals 100% weapon damage. And again, that Disintegrate status effect deals 5% weapon damage per second. Reduces damage absorption by 5%. And stacks up to 3 times. Now notice the secondary part of this. At max range, it transforms into a healing orb and returns healing friendlies for 20% weapon damage per second for 5 seconds. And again, the healing scales with focus only. Really interesting how they did that. How the damage is scaling more with intelligence and the healing scaling up with focus. This has a 15-second cooldown, costs 20 mana to cast. So let's see what that looks like. There's the orb, and you can see the healing over time effect returned really quickly. That was pretty awesome. Let me actually fire that on an enemy to see how it looks. Get the healing back. Second ability here is called Baleful Tether. Fire a projectile that tethers you to an enemy, weakening it and empowering you by 4% per second, up to 20%. The tether ends if the target moves beyond 15 meters. It says a 25-second cooldown and costs 25 mana to cast. So here you can see the tether effect. Good duration on that. And then our third ability, Essence Rupture. Fire a projectile that inflicts Essence Rupture for 10 seconds. Healing anyone that hits the target for 20% of the damage done. Does not apply to damage over time. Okay. So you're applying a healing over time to the target based on damage done. So kind of like Beacon, except it's based on the player's damage. Let's try that. Well, I'm getting healed up, which is good. Pretty cool. That had a 20-second cooldown, by the way, and cost 25 mana. If we look at the upgrades here for Orb of Decay, Draining Orb gives you bonus mana per enemy hit with Orb. Slowing Orb, the Orb now slows enemies already afflicted by any debuff. Okay, nice. Detonating Orb, press the ability input again to detonate the Orb with a 4-meter explosion radius. And this is based on the Orb's phase, so if it's going out, it's going to deal 100% weapon damage, but if it's returning, it's going to heal for 70% weapon damage. Okay. That's really interesting. Okay, I think I saw it hit again, maybe? I'm not sure about that one. As far as upgrades here, Tethered Refresh, successful hits against the tethered target reduce your Void Gauntlet cooldowns. Tethered Focus gives you 100% mana regeneration while the tether is active. That's big. And then Soul Eater, regain 80% weapon damage as health if the tethered target dies. And that's going to scale with Focus. Okay, so those are pretty nice. And then upgrades for Essence Rupture. Invigorating Rupture, players receive 15 stamina. And then Overflowing Essence. Friendlies within 4 meters are healed for 80% of your weapon damage when the effect ends. Again, scales on Focus. The final upgrade is Glimpse of the Void. Gain a stack of Void Essence per successful ability hit. At 4 or more stacks, your next successful ranged heavy attack will instantly reset all cooldowns and remove all stacks. Now, finally, we can look at some of the passives here. I don't want to look at all of them, but just the ones that I think might be the most beneficial. We do have a full written guide on the Void Gauntlet already at our site, rpgdojo.com. Of all the skills, the upgrades, the passives listed there. But just right now, here's what I think is looking pretty good in terms of passives. Most of them are in the decay trees. So for example, Radiant Efficiency, this reduces your mana cost by 25% while above 50% mana. Those seems like a good sustained passive. You also have Refreshing Harvest. Cooldowns are reduced by 10% per second while doing that Harvest Essence, that right-click basic ability. Leeching Bolts, this increases that healing from the ranged heavy attacks by an additional 30% of your damage dealt if the target is low health. And then another one that looked pretty good, Mending Evasion. Dodging with full mana heals you for 80% weapon damage. Again, scaling with Focus. I don't know how often we're going to be at full mana when using Void Gauntlet, but that's a pretty nice heal just from dodging. On the other side, Annihilation has some decent passives as well. I think Keen Confidence, you'll want this for sure. Bonus critical chance while above 50% health. Refreshing Precision is going to reduce those cooldowns. When you do critical damage, that's nice also. And then I liked Empowering Proximity. If you're going for the Blade playstyle, if you're focusing on Void Blade, which seems to be a very strong ability, this is going to give you Empower when you're within 5 meters of an enemy, and that also stacks up to 3 times. It's pretty nice. And then I also like this Leeching Agony passive for a little bit of bonus healing on critical hits. So a lot of this is focused around critical damage over on this side. And again, passive healing seems very nice for group play and solo play as well. With that said, that's going to wrap up this quick guide on the Void Gauntlet. Again, we are on the public test realm currently. All of this is subject to change. Some of it probably will. If it does change, make sure to check out our written guide. That will be the most up-to-date source of information on all the abilities, passives, and upgrades. If you guys enjoyed this video or you found it informative, do us a favor, crush that like button. Make sure you're subscribed with your notifications turned on for much more New World content, guides and builds coming your way, including some Void Gauntlet guides in the very near future. We'll be testing those out this week. Thanks as always for watching, and we'll see you around in the next video.